Hello and welcome back to Paid for College. My name is Tanika Mangum, your scholarship coach, and I am dedicated to helping you to avoid crazy student loan debt. So we are back. This is the second part of the series for April, really talking about and celebrating National Financial Literacy Month. And so we're going to be talking about all things college finances to help you get ready. So today's topic is Parent Plus Loans Part 2. That's right, Part 2. So that means if you're like, wait, Part 1? Yeah, you might want to go back to Part 1 first because that is where we really broke down what a Parent Plus loan is and all the intricacies for that. So go ahead, pause this video, go back to Part 1. I'll put the link in the description below so that way you can come back here for Part 2. Now, if you've already seen Part 1, welcome back. And as I promised, I want to share with you some important details and some extra things about Parent Plus loans that you absolutely should know about. So we're going to be talking about really some questions that you have left in the comments, some things that you absolutely should know in terms of how to actually go about paying for the Parent Plus loan and how to talk to your child, or even how to avoid or minimize that Parent Plus loan as well. So here we go. I got my notes here and there's a couple of things that I want to start with. So the very first thing that I want to start with is the cap. So a lot of people said, there was a comment that was saying, hey, I can't not take out a Parent Plus loan, right? I've only been giving direct subsidized a certain amount and direct unsubsidized a certain amount, and I still have this remaining balance that I need to cover, and I do have the Parent Plus loan option, so I guess that's my only option. So here's a couple things to note. With direct and direct unsubsidized, there is a cap. So the federal government does cap the direct subsidized and the direct unsubsidized based by your school year. So freshmen get a certain amount, then it goes up $1,000 for the sophomore year, goes up an additional $1,000 for the junior year, goes up another additional for the senior year. And so you want to be aware of that, so you can't just expect, hey, they only gave me so much. Now, they will only give you up to a certain amount based on your FAFSA form and your financial need, your federal financial need. So that's different than just saying, hey, I have a balance. That means I have a federal financial need. Federal financial need basically comes down to what's the cost of your attendance minus your expected family contribution. Now, when we say expected family contribution, a lot of people get nervous here because they think that means, hey, that means that that's how much they think I should be contributing to college. And there's absolutely no way. That number is way too big, Tanika. And that's not really what the number is supposed to be for. It's really supposed to be to dictate how much federal financial aid that you could receive. So that's not necessarily saying, hey, you're supposed to contribute this much, but it is based on your financials and what you submitted. This is the number that they came up with to then detract to figure out how much federal financial aid. Now, we talked about financial aid already in a previous video and how there's different forms of financial aid, right? So you have your federal financial aid, which is what we're talking about right now. You have some state aid, you have institutional aid, and then you have private organization aid, i.e. my favorite, scholarships. So please don't think, hey, I don't get enough federal financial aid, so therefore I'm not eligible for financial aid. So you have all the other 3 options too to explore for additional financial aid. Now that we have that clarified, if you have additional questions, please drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them there. So let's talk about Parent Plus loans and the things you absolutely need to know before considering taking out one. The very first thing to consider is it can't be transferred. Yeah, so parents think, okay, I'll take out this Parent Plus loan for my student, and when they're done, I'll just transfer the loan to them. I was just doing it to help them get into school. But guess what? You can't actually transfer a Parent Plus loan. You, as the parent, are the only one that has to pay back that loan. Now, meaning that you're obligated. It's in your name or your writing. That does not mean that you can't have your child contribute to you paying off this student loan. So what does that mean? That means if I said, hey, I'm taking out this Parent Plus loan because you really want to go to this school, you really wanted to go here, let's talk about what kind of skin you got in this game, because I can't just be taking on the loan, right, and all the responsibilities. Like, what else can you be doing? So whether based on their income, whether they work a summer job, whether they work a part-time job while they're in school, whether they're working during spring break or winter break, just to help you and have that money given to you so that way you can help pay off the loan and it's not accruing interest and putting you farther in debt. So consider that with your student. Hey, I'm taking out this $10, $15, $20,000 loan for you, and this is how much it's going to cost for us to pay this off this year. So how about you contribute? If you can at least come up with $5,000 in that year, that'd be great, right? Or $3,000 or whatever your stipulation might be as a minimum. That will be a good way to start to talk to your child, make sure that they're aware that this isn't just like a magical, I signed it that my mom took care of it or my dad took care of it, and therefore I don't have to worry about this anymore. If they really want to go there, they gotta make sure that they're contributing in some way as well, okay? So there's that. Then you also have an option about how you're going to pay this back. Now, one of the questions that came up that I wanted to really make sure that we're clear on is, let's say that got your financial aid award letters, which was the last video we just did from the last series. So if you missed that, go back. But also in that, we talked about your remaining balance and how you were like, hey, well, they offered me the Parent Plus loan, I can take that. So let's say that you're in May, and as a parent, you're considering, my child hasn't had the scholarship, so we don't have the money, but we have this Parent Plus loan. I think this is where I need to just sign the dotted line. Here's the thing, even when you sign for a federal Parent Plus loan, you actually are not being charged yet until the money gets dispersed to pay for your child. So let's back up. What do I mean by disperse? Disperse means that the federal government sends the loan money to the institution in order to pay for your child. So as you step on campus, there's not an outdated bill that you have to consider. There's nothing else that you need to do because it's already been claimed through that student loan that you've taken out. Now, if that doesn't happen, then yes, they're gonna say, well, you gotta go to see a financial aid office. There's been some discrepancies or something that's missing that you need to talk to the office. So you wanna kind of try to avoid that. Now, if that's the case and you've signed, and let's say you signed and come September, your child got a notification that they won all the scholarship dollars, right? So you've taken out $20,000 in Parent Plus loans, and they get a notice that they won a $10,000 scholarship. Now, what I don't want you to do is say, oh, well, I already have it covered, and they're probably not going to give you $10,000 because you don't have a zero balance. Don't do that. What you want to have happen is that financial aid office to apply that scholarship and to return $10,000 of the student loan that you've taken out as a Parent Plus loan and back to the federal government. Here's a caveat. Here's something that you should know. You actually can return a Parent Plus loan within 120 days and not get charged any of the interest or any fees. Did you hear me? So this is why I'm saying for students to keep applying for scholarships, to keep do all those things, because hey, anything that's gonna minimize that and allows you to return money back to the federal government to say, oh, I don't need this anymore. Now that can be canceling the whole Parent Plus loan that you just taken out, or even a portion of it. Whatever they're gonna do to help you not be in some serious debt because you're really trying to help your child. So think about that. Really push your child to apply for the scholarships, and so that way you can minimize that need even after they've enrolled in school. So after they enrolled, again, they have 120 days. So that's 4 months, right? So that's 4 months. So that means if they enrolled in, let's say August, you would have until November in order to return back a Parent Plus loan and not be charged the interest or the fees. That's amazing, right? So definitely keep that in mind, and I really want you to make sure that you have that. Okay, now let's talk about loan forgiveness. Oh, you know I was going there. You know I was. So let's talk about loan forgiveness real quick. And how does Parent Plus loans play into that, if any? Is there any way that I can get some kind of relief from this Parent Plus loan, honey? Now let's back up to say, parents, a lot of you already have student loan debt of your own. Like you went to school, maybe you finished, maybe you didn't, and you have some student loans yourself. And so you're really concerned about taking out a Parent Plus loan because you're wondering, like, I'm struggling paying the student loans that I already have, right? So let's talk about some options that might be viable for you. So for a Parent Plus loan, you can be in a plan for loan forgiveness. What that means is that you have to be consolidated into an income contingent plan. Now, an income contingent plan means that you have to report your salary or your adjusted gross income to the federal government every year. And based on those numbers, there's a certain percentage that they expect for you to contribute back of discretionary income. Now, discretionary income can be after all the bills are paid, after everything, all the things are done, then it's like 10% of that amount. That is what that monthly payment will be, okay? So let's give an example. Let's say you make $60,000 a year, okay? Your housing, or whether it be apartment or a house, a mortgage, what have you, is a certain amount of that year. So, okay, we add that. Then we have to add in all the groceries. Then we have to add on all the gas. So all those assumptions will come in. And then after all of that is done, whatever is remaining, a balance within that, 10% of that. So a lot of you might be saying, that's not much. I might not even have anything remaining, Tanika. I'm living literally paycheck to paycheck. Well, if that's the case, did you know that sometimes your bill can be $0? That's why it's called income constraint, right? Because it's wondering what your income is and what your adjusted gross is and your discretionary income. So whether that be $5 a month or whatever, you're in a plan. Now this plan is up to 25 years. So you would have to pay that $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever your discretionary income percentage would be, that 10% would be. They will calculate that for you so you will know. So you don't have to do the math for yourself, of course. But then if you're paying that on a monthly basis, after 25 years, whatever is remaining of that balance will be forgiven. Okay, so that's one plan under the federal government if you decide to go that route. Now, there's something else called public service loan forgiveness. Now, public service loan forgiveness is for those who are working in public service. So that means if you're working local, state, federal government, if you are working for a nonprofit, whether it be a league or social advocacy or education in some form, any of those things that are nonprofit based, your employer is a nonprofit, then you'll be eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Now, this is the smallest. So we just talked about doing something for 25 years. And you're probably like, whew, even though it might be a low process, still 25 years. Still 25 years could be a lot to consider, right? So with public service loan forgiveness, you have to work for a qualifying employer. So what I just carried out, right? And also you have to have at least 120 qualifying payments. So under a certain repayment plan. Now, I just talked about the income contingent repayment plan, right? That's the only plan that actually works for Parent Plus loans. So you can't do any other program in order for you to be eligible for loan. Here's one, whether it be PSLF, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, they all have to be income contingent repayment plans. So with that being said, after you made your 120 monthly payments, which means that you were employed for 10 years. Now, it doesn't have to be the same company for 10 years. So you could have worked multiple jobs as long as they were qualifying employers. So as long as they were still in a nonprofit or a public service sector, then that will be eligible for you. So if that is you, if you're a parent who's like, wait a minute, I have student loans already, and I'm considering taking out a Parent Plus loan, or you've already taken out a Parent Plus loan. Yes, I'm talking to you. And you're wondering, how do I help with this? You can consolidate it into your direct loan program, choosing income contingent repayment plan. And if you've already made the 120 payments with your qualifying employer, guess what? Oh yeah, you're getting that thing forgiven, okay? So that is another great option to consider. The very last thing that I want to cover to make sure that people are aware is discharge. Now, discharge can be, it's similar to forgiveness, but not the same, because these are based on certain things that have happened that's outside of your control. So for example, if the parent has suddenly passed away, or for God forbid, the child that you took out the Parent Plus loan for actually passed away, then those can be forgiven. The loans can be forgiven. So you want to make sure, or discharge rather, sorry. So you want to make sure that you complete the discharge forms in order to do that if that does happen or has happened. Now, if it is based on a school closing, so maybe your child was enrolled in a school and the school closed because a number of different reasons why it closed before they actually completed a degree, then those loans can also be taken or discharged as well. So you want to consider that as another option. And the very last discharge that I want to tell you about is disability discharge. So that means that you, as a parent, have been totally and permanently disabled. If that is the case for you, then you can also take charge or take advantage of the discharge for the Parent Plus loan that you've taken out for your child, okay? So those are the only really 3 ways to get a discharge. So the other 2 ways is, again, the forgiveness, whether it be 25 years or the 10-year plan, whatever it might be, but it has to be an income contingent repayment plan. So you want to look into that if that is something that you would like. Now, if you're not going to do federal Parent Plus loans and you're considering a private loan, you do want to keep in mind that fixed versus variable interest rate. Now, again, fixed interest rate, if you remember from the last video, is saying that that interest does not change whatsoever, while variable says that it can change or it may change from year to year. So you just want to keep that in mind when you're starting to shop around for Parent Plus loans, for private parent loans. Now, if that is the case, you have to realize that this 25 and that 10 loan forgiveness, those options are not available for private loans. So all this conversation about loan forgiveness and everything that's going on right now in the country, private loans are not considered in that. So you just want to keep that in mind when you're considering all of your things. So if you're like, well, the other 2 are not eligible for, or it's not feasible for me, and you want to consider the private loans, you want to make sure that you're aware of that, okay? So that you're not like, hey, where's my loan forgiveness, or where's my 0% interest and I'm not paying right now? That doesn't happen with private loans, okay? So you want to keep that in mind. So those are all the things that I really, really, really want to stress to you. So if you're still saying, okay, I understand about Parent Plus loans, I understand about the difference with the private loan, I understand about loan forgiveness, I understand all the stipulations that I need to know, is there anything else that I should consider before signing this line? Yeah, having your child apply for scholarships. It's April right now. No one should be considering signing a dotted line for any loans right now. It's April. They do not enroll until August or September. that means you have 3 to 4 months left to really dive deep with these scholarships, right? So take the time to start to search, to start to apply, to really give the effort on trying to get as much free money as possible. And that includes campaigning your family and your community as well. So all the support that you might get, whether it be collecting money through Cash App or PayPal or whatever, or even rendering some services that they can be doing for the community and getting paid for that, that can be put towards the savings. So that way your Parent Plus loan consideration and that amount actually looks a little bit smaller now because you've done all the things before considering. So don't jump because, hey, I got this financial aid award letter. They say I had to, this is how much and we have a balance and it seems like the only option is Parent Plus loans. Yeah, but it's April. So you still have time, right? You still have time. So let's go and tackle the free money right now. Let's make sure that we do not just succumb to just saying, just give me all the burdens, give me all the loans, okay? So that is my video for today. I hope this was helpful for part 2. And if you have any questions or comments, put them down in the comment section. I'd be happy to do so. There's a couple other links that I'll share in the description as well to help you understand more about those income contingent plans, the public service loan forgiveness plans, and anything else that I have mentioned in this video. So again, have a great time and avoid that loans, okay? Let's get to the free money first. I'll see you next time.